This is the 365 Days of Multi-Level Marketing Journey to Freedom podcast with Rome Batchelor, where Rome shares his daily journey from down and out to total financial freedom in 1 year, along with pro tips, tricks, strategies, and tools to help you join in on the journey. Now, here's Rome with today's Journey to Financial Freedom podcast.
Hello, everybody, Freedom Nation in 1 year. This is Rome, and I'm excited to share today. You got to think of your journey. If you're going to get freedom in a year or less, you got to know your process. Today's about process, so think about it as a hose. If you have a hose and you're trying to get water on the other side, that's your freedom, right? That's your cash flow. And there's a crimp in it. The water might be perfect, the pressure might be perfect, the system, everything might be perfect, and the hose might be perfect, all except one area. And there could be a crimp in that thing, and it's not getting you the results because there's something you're missing. And as I have worked with people throughout the years, I have noticed that usually it's one or two areas that's holding people back. And it's just that. And quite often it's lead flow and a solid approach, and then sometimes it's just pure people skills or the inability to get people started. So today we're going to talk about the 4 key areas of your process, and I would grab a pen, paper, take some notes, or come back and listen to this podcast and jot down these notes, because if you miss one item, that could be the crimp in your hose keeping you from the results and diminishing the returns on your efforts and time and energy, and causing discouragement, not only amongst you, but those who are watching you or counting on you to succeed, or are looking at you thinking you're going to fail, and you're going to validate those people if you don't uncrimp your hose, man. So you got to uncrimp your hose. So here's what we're going to talk about: the 4 key areas, the 4 legs to your stool, the 4 pillars, if you will, of your successful house and this journey of building a successful business and team in network marketing. So yeah, we make money by selling product. We make money by helping other people on our team sell product. And we make money by recruiting more and more people who use and sell product, right? So there may be some other source of income, but for the most part, throughout the industry, that's how you make your money, through building a huge team, a huge audience, a huge community of people using your products or services, right? So how do you do that? You've got to get these 4 pillars. So number 1, if you think about baseball, think about it as if you're on the baseball, the diamond, right? There's home plate, first base, second base, third base, and then back to home. And you start at home, right? So you're not even on the plate. You're not even in the game unless you have someone to talk to. So number 1, your process has to be clear. The starting point, the most important foundation to all of it is who you're going to talk to, man. Are you going to talk to your neighbors? There's probably so many. Are you going to go knocking on doors? Are you going to make phone calls? Are you going to make videos? What are you going to do to find people to talk to? And you better hurry, because you got to know that before you even begin the year's journey, right? So you have to have that process. You know, I have a process that I have looked through the years for processes, and I found a few that really work well. And now I have the one I'm most excited about that's working the best for me. But you've got to figure it out. And hopefully that process is a low rejection process. Here's why. Even if your confidence on a scale from 1 to 100 is 101, even if your skills on a scale from 1 to 100 is 101, most people in your team's confidence and skills are going to be down 25%. From 1 to 100 to start with. And that's when it matters most. They got to get results in the beginning. And they're not going to listen to you 100% of the time and say, let me show you before you do it. Make sure you talk to me before you go out and do. And before you talk to your friends or whoever they're going to talk to, right? Or whatever the system you're using is for their prospects. Because most of them are not going to listen, and they're going to blow it. So if you don't have a system that will work for those 25 to 50%ers, then you're not going to get duplication. You're not going to build by multiplication. You're going to build by addition, by the people you add, who then beat their head against the wall until they quit beating their head. And then at best, they might be a product user, and at worst, they'll quit and be negative, right? So you'll find another rare person like yourself if you've got high skills. And it takes years. It takes maybe decades to get people up to that level of competence and confidence. So if you're trying to build a team, then instead of looking at bettering your people as plan A, make that part 2 of your plan. But let's get a process that can be duplicated by the masses, right? The people that come in that have lower than average skill, if they can make it, or at least get to average, if you can help them get to 50% skill and confidence level, then that's enough if you have a great system that's low rejection for leads. So think about your leads process, and that's got to be solved before the game begins, or else you're going to be discouraged along the way and probably not even make a year. So number 1. Number 2 is first base. What's your approach? How are you going to approach them? Do you have a proven process, a proven script, a proven question, a proven set of sequence of words? Big Al said the difference between those that make it big in network marketing and those that don't make it is quite often just the sequence of the words that they use. Just the sequence of the words that they use. So Big Al is a top trainer. His name's Tom Schreider. Big Al's his sort of pen name. And I encourage you to look him up. But, there are so many little approaches. Would it be okay if, and most people do network marketing every day. They're just not picking up the check. And there's so many approaches, out there. Ray Higdon talks about, would you, are you open to an opportunity, or are you closed-minded? So that's just off the cuff, but it's about being open there. And all of these have been proven, and there's so many other approaches out there. I love, I've got something important I want to show you. Take about 15 minutes. And by the way, you may or may not be interested. These are all proven. I've used them all, and they work. If there was a way that you could double your income on a part-time basis, would you want to know how that works? So I'm just throwing some of these. Have you found the opportunity that has allowed you to live the lifestyle that you've always dreamed of? I mean, everything that you've always thought that it could or should be, or are you still open-minded? I'm just throwing out some examples, but you've got to figure it out. There's better ones than those, I think. But those all work. I've used all of those I just mentioned with results. So you got to know first base. What's your approach? What's your sequence of words? What's your process to engage with those leads? Once you get that process figured out, you're on first base. You've had an accomplishment. But now where's the next place that you can have a crimp in your hose, so to speak, is second base. What's second base? Second base is your presentation. What are you using to present? It needs to be an effective video or videos. It needs to be an effective web page or web pages. It needs to be an effective upline. It needs to be a great story. It needs to be an effective presentation, whether it be the 45-second presentation that'll change your life, a 1-minute presentation from Big Al again, or whether it be a video, a website, a webinar is very successful. If you can get somebody to sit down. By the way, a big tip here, pro tip alert is people make decisions on their seat, not on their feet. People make business decisions on their seat, not on their feet. So you got to block off a time, make an appointment to get them to see that presentation. That's half the battle on having a successful second base. So what is your presentation? It could be a conference call. It could be so many things, but you got to put some thought in it. It's got to be effective. Third base. What's third base? Third base is your process of follow-up. Are you getting back to them, or are you just hoping they call you? You got to get back to them. I love, are you ready to get started? Quite often. There's other ways you can be more gentle. Would it be okay if I get you some more of that stuff? If you're initiating with samples. You got to be able to follow up. And sometimes the follow-up is before the presentation if you're giving samples as your first step. Sometimes it's samples. Would it be okay if I give you some samples, get your opinion on something, get your feedback on something, get your advice on something? That's first base stuff. And then you could go to the follow-up as your second base, and then the presentation could be third base in some cases. So, but either way, you're going to present and you're going to follow up, typically present first, then follow up, right? And then